Lazy and entitled. It is a deadly combination, and unfortunately it's increasingly common in modern women, and it's a big red flag. You need to look out for these two traits, because if you date a woman like this, you're going to waste your time. The reason is a woman who has this combination is not going to be emotionally mature enough to be able to actually deal with the difficult parts of a relationship. When stuff gets difficult, when you're going through struggles, having disagreements, you want a woman of character, of courage, somebody who actually has the maturity to be able to work through this stuff. You want somebody who's loyal and who is practical enough in their approach to understand that good relationships take time. They take effort and energy and commitment from both people. You don't want somebody who's just going to monkey branch to some other guy the moment things get difficult. But why is this happening more often? Why does it seem like so few women are actually willing to work at relationships these days? I mean, we all grew up with the Disney Hollywood myths of romance. You know, you find your soulmate, you live happily ever after, and then the story ends. There's no fighting over money troubles. There's no arguments about whose turn it is to do the dishes. There's no couples counseling because you haven't been intimate in 6 months. It's just eternal happiness. I mean, I think we all fall for that at least a little bit, men and women included. You know, people stand at the altar on their wedding day thinking that their life is going to be supremely happy. They don't imagine all of the hundreds of arguments that are yet to come. But things are worse now than they used to be. Casual hookups are way more common, and when something does finally become a committed relationship, it doesn't last as long as it used to. Divorce rates are up, and most divorces are initiated by women. Back in the day, people had a much more grounded, practical view of relationships. They knew that it was going to take work. They knew that it was going to be struggles, there was going to be hard times, and that they had to commit. They had to work through it. They couldn't just run away at the first sign of trouble. But that attitude of cut and run is increasingly common, and it's because a lot of women have got this deadly combination of laziness and entitlement. The laziness comes from just how much easier everything is in modern life with all of our modern conveniences. Compared to even just a few decades earlier, our lives now are incredibly abundant, and technology moves us every single year towards instant gratification. We're not used to struggle. The new generations have not really been conditioned for that. We're used to getting our needs met quickly and without much effort. This is where the laziness comes in, because she wants all of the benefits that comes from having a male partner, but she doesn't want to have to sacrifice any of her own comfort in order to achieve that. Sure, she had fun with you for a while. She was enjoying the benefits of your masculinity, but increasingly, the relationship is losing the ease that she enjoyed at the beginning. She's finding that you have different values on things, different expectations. Sure, she could sit down and discuss it all with you, you know, hash it out, make some compromises, grow as a person, reflect on herself, develop that stronger bond as a couple, but all of that sounds like a lot of work. Or she could take that easier option. She could literally go on Tinder and have 100 new men within an hour ready to replace you. Then she doesn't have to deal with the difficult stuff. She's back to receiving that masculine benefit. She's back in that honeymoon phase where everything's easy and everything's simple. The message that modern women and modern men all need to hear is this: good relationships take work. When somebody tells me that their relationship is great because they and their girlfriend or they and their boyfriend never argue, they never fight, I cringe inside, because that is not a sign of a good, healthy relationship. It's just a sign that somebody is obviously repressing their emotions. That's not good, because couples should fight. Disagreements should arise. That's normal. That's natural. That's to be expected. Now, of course, those disagreements should be handled with mutual respect, you know, with compassion and maturity, but the disagreements themselves are inevitable. You are one individual and you have your whole set of values and beliefs and perspectives. You're a whole person inside yourself, and so is she. You're not going to sync up perfectly. As you live your life together and you develop this relationship, you're going to rub up against each other. You're going to bristle. There's going to be tension. That's normal. You talk that all through, and then ideally you both grow as individuals and as a couple because of those discussions. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes it's going to be scary, but nothing worth having in this life comes easy. Without exception, all of the functional, happy, healthy couples that I know in my personal life have all been through hardships. They've all had their fights. They've all had their arguments and their disagreements. They've all had their tough periods. But you know what? It makes them stronger as a couple, because it tests them. To wander into difficult, uncharted territory as a couple, that's a positive thing because it pushes you to develop strategies to deal with hardships, to encounter a disagreement, and then to communicate and to find a resolution and work through it in a way that both people feel included and respected and increasing their love for each other. That is the model for a positive relationship. A couple that never fights or argues is a complete fantasy. It's a delusion. It doesn't exist, or at least it shouldn't exist. Fights, arguments, disagreements, that's normal, that's to be expected. This is why laziness is such a red flag when it comes to women, because if she believes that struggle is a problem, that it means that something has gone wrong and she can't be bothered to do anything unless it comes easy, then the moment that a regular, normal disagreement in your relationship arises, she's just gonna bail. Suddenly, you've wasted 6 months of your life with the wrong woman. The relationship's over. You have nothing to show for it. As soon as things got real and your relationship actually required some work and there was that opportunity for both of you to grow as individuals and develop a stronger bond as a couple, she left. Hard work? Nah. Can't be bothered. Too lazy. I'll go find someone else. What a disaster. But laziness is only half of the story. You also need to factor in female entitlement. This is one of those unfortunate excesses of modern feminism in that the message of female empowerment has lost any sense of discernment. How often do you hear messages to women of, you don't need to compromise, girl, you're a queen, you deserve the very best. If he doesn't appreciate you, then kick him to the curb. Now, obviously, we don't want women staying in relationships with genuinely abusive men, but do you see how painfully one-sided this messaging is? There's never any messages on compromises you should make for your boyfriend, ways to make your boyfriend happy. When you mess up or fail to meet his expectations, here are ways that you can make it up to him. If you were to look at the sort of messaging that you see for female empowerment on social media, you would assume that every single woman is a perfect, flawless angel. The only possible problem that she could encounter in her relationship is that she doesn't know her own value. She doesn't appreciate herself enough. If things are hard in her relationship, then automatically the assumption is that she deserves better. She better dump him ASAP. I mean, this is just the nature of an echo chamber, and the manosphere is equally as bad. If you look at most of the content, you would assume that every single man is this perfect, flawless hero, and all of the women are she-demons. It's completely ridiculous, but it's also really dangerous, because when women are exposed to this kind of constant messaging, this propaganda of how amazing they are, how deserving they are, it creates this sense of entitlement, that their relationships should serve their interest and that it should be easy and without much effort on their part. That's a disaster. Where's the commitment? Where's the loyalty? And I'm not talking about blind loyalty, like if the relationship really sucks, then yes, you've got to end it, but realistic expectations, please. Should a relationship be fun and enjoyable, and should it serve your interests? Yes, absolutely. Should it also be difficult sometimes and require hard work, commitment, energy, effort? Absolutely. That struggle, that sacrifice, that shouldn't only be coming from the man in the relationship, that should equally be coming from the woman. So that female entitlement, that's a big red flag, and you got to watch out for that when you're vetting a woman for a potential relationship. Talk to her about what her expectations are when she's dating somebody. Does she know that sometimes it's going to be difficult, that it's going to require hard work on her part? Or does she expect everything to be easy and just serving her interests? A good tip is to look at a woman's past, dating history. Look at her past relationships. Has she been in long-term committed relationships? Then she's more likely to have a realistic expectation of what's about to come. Or does she have a pattern of dating a guy for a couple of months and then dumping him and moving on? You know, if that's the case, then you're a fool if you think that you're going to be the exception. You might also want to look at her parents. Now, this one's not definitive, of course, but if she's still got parents who are together, then she's at least seen a role model growing up of what it's like for a couple to stay together, assumedly through difficult periods. But if her parents are divorced, then she's also going to have that potentially as an archetype for relationships. Hey, when stuff gets difficult, you know, you bail out. I mean, be careful with that one. That one's nuanced because sometimes a divorce genuinely is the right thing to do. But look, it forms part of the whole picture that you can look at. It's also really important that you consider where you met your partner, because that context matters a lot for how she views you. Because if You know, you were just one guy that she matched with out of hundreds or thousands. When things get difficult, then she's easily going to place you back into that category and she's just going to start swiping again. It's just another reason why I recommend meeting women through your social circle, meeting a woman through your mutual friends, because then you're a real person to her and she's going to be concerned about her reputation with your social group. You know, when things get difficult in the relationship, she's not just going to cut and run, you know, because she's going to understand how that's going to look to other people. If you date women within your social circle, you remove the dangers of her viewing you as just some anonymous man who's as expendable and replaceable as, you know, all of the mindless male chumps out there. And so, loyalty, commitment, willingness to struggle, these are underappreciated qualities in today's dating market, but they are essential. If you meet a woman who is that deadly combination of lazy and entitled, walk away. I promise you, you're just saving yourself a lot of wasted time. So I've told guys that they should wait until their 30s before actually settling down, but that advice has been widely misunderstood. There's a lot of exceptions, and so I made a video on my Patreon to go through all of the nuance of it, to explain when it applies and when it doesn't apply. So if that advice has ever been confusing to you, please go and check out that video. Plus, check out all the other topics you get on my Patreon. $5 a month, tremendous value. Please go and sign up. I'd love to see you over there.